Papa, Mama gave that sentence, and they kept repeating. When they left, my mind kept repeating to me, like you said. They are long gone, but they're still very much alive inside of me. How they believe?
Maybe even more.
Even more, yeah. Maybe they even stop believing in that shit. They say, no, this is not how it works.
Man, still doing that. What?
Hello guys, welcome. We are here talking from the community Atma Aayur to create our first podcast in English. We have been doing this in Portuguese and now we are starting to share with all our friends that are abroad. And although I know that they love to listen to us speaking in Portuguese, it's kind of hard to understand what we are saying. So this is a way that we found to share what we are discovering here. And the name of our podcast is Connection with the Soul. And here is Sananda talking to you, and Vinicius, also Yuri and Renata, all members of the community. Some of us don't feel as secure at this moment to speak in English, so they're just here as a crowd saying yay, or yes, or aho, whatever. But we are here having a nice chat, a nice conversation. Is introduction to what we're doing here. For some of you, maybe it's the first time you ever heard about us. And the idea behind this conversation, this podcast, is to share our goal of creating a new earth, a new reality with our actions, creating new rituals, new beliefs, new ways of being and existing in this planet that has all to do with frequency, and the frequency of love and enlightened consciousness. And from our understanding, from our personal experience, this is something that it has to be grown, it has to be nurtured every day. Illumination, consciousness, love are inner states that we have to keep by our own inner perception and how we guide our thoughts and our actions. So in this sense, it's a lot about self-responsibility. Atma Aayur has this vision, this goal of creating a new earth, creating a lot of communities around the globe. So maybe one day you will be part of one of those communities. Maybe you will be a creator with us, who knows? So we invite you to co-create. But at this moment, it's just a simple, smaller step of just sharing our understandings, our fears, our challenges, and our insights, so that you that are over there in the world doing your own thing, creating your own path, maybe you can feel the same as we feel and share your own experiences with your questions and learn with us. So we are here to co-create, and we are very happy that you are over there. And our loved ones, hey!
Yay!
Thank you for being here, cherishing this moment. So we chose a thematic for today, and is about to invert or to change something that is very much institutionalized in our society. That is this idea that we have to see something first happening in order to believe. And the spirituality has taught us here that is quite the opposite. That first we have to believe in order to see. And this have a lot to do with self-responsibility. And I will ask to my friend Vinicius here, because he has been learning this with us since he arrived. And for him, it's kind of a very interesting, more recent process, right? It's more alive inside of him to invert this perception. So Vinicius, how is for you in this time of your life this inversion of first you believe in order to see?
All right. First of all, just like to thank you for inviting me to be here today. I was not expecting, but it was just like after meditation, Sananda was just talking to me, and then he said, "Vinny, let's do a podcast in English today." I was like, "Yeah, let's." It's amazing to be here. So as he said, my name is Vinny. Just introducing myself, for who doesn't know me yet. I've been living here for 4 months. It looks like, it feels like a week, but it also feels like a year. It's interesting.
Time here flows differently.
Yeah. And to believe before and then we see, for me it's very different now, because now it's in my experience. It's how I experience life. It's not just a thought. It's not just a belief system that somebody told me I should and then I do. No, it's just I started doing it. I started believing in myself, believing in what I'm doing, my actions, and putting it all on a row, all together. And then trusting that it's gonna happen, and then it actually does, because I focus on all my energy onto that, and then it's what I believe. Then the universe and my guides and like my higher self and the creator all help me, because I'm putting the energy, the effort before. Like we said that in the universe we don't have like you cannot pay after, there is no credit card, so
yes.
you cannot just like receive and then after you're gonna pay for it. No, you paid before. So once you invert that, you can live your life how you want. You can have all your dreams, maybe not what you were attached to, like for example, as a kid I had the dream of being a doctor, like I had that in my mind, like I wanted to do that for some time, and then after that I wanted to be a teacher, like in a school. Like those were all like tools to fulfill one of my needs. And now my dream is to fulfill all my needs, to be one full self. And I believe that will happen, and that is happening, and then it is, just because of my belief, just because of my energy. Exactly. And this changed my whole way of living, thinking, and existing. And to do, in order to do that, I had to detach myself of all the things that I wanted before. So I can still want them now, but first I had to move forward to not wanting anything. And in that space I could believe in everything and then create everything and then see it.
Beautiful.
So that's
it's
how
a very powerful way to describe it. Yes.
Yeah, that's how I would put it, and it's just amazing. Like, for example, I was dreaming before of having like amazing friends and an amazing family around me, and now I do, just because I changed my perception, and then now my dream is to have the best perception. So it
yes, I understand. Yes,
goes changing and deeper and deeper. How is it for you, Sananda?
Well, man, first of all, I think I should mention when you say about pay in advance, right? Because this is words, sometimes they are tricky to translate concepts completely. Yes. So I would say that this pay in advance has a lot to do about inner change, right? So I want to be rich, and I don't understand that I am not rich because of who I am. Right? So pay in advance is about inner transformation. And this has a psychological aspect of it, right? It's very obvious. It's easy to see it on the surface, right? So people that changes their behavior, right? So I want to be richer now, I do stuff that rich people do. And that obviously will create some different kind of reality, right? But then there is something that is more deeply intrinsic, right? That there is this very beautiful Japanese guy who dedicated his life to wealth and to richness, right? And he's the utmost expert in the planet about millionaires.
Who is he?
I don't remember his name, I can say it later. But the point is that his research with 8,000 millionaires in Japan, okay? And then after, when he became famous outside of Japan, he started doing the same with people from all other countries, right? How they relate their wealth. And what I'm trying to bring is that even though some of them got a lot of money and got a lot of richness, right? the way that they were related inside was of a poor person. They're always in lack, always in anxiety, always fighting to have that money. So I'm trying to say this pain advance also has a lot to do with the quality of how you achieve something, right? So I want to have this beautiful guy that has this and this and this quality. But how it is to me, how it feels to me to be in that experience, right? Because maybe it feels frightening. Maybe it feels I'm always anxious, you know? So this inner feeling, this inner sensation has a lot to do with our childhood trauma. How it felt to be at mama's side, how it felt to be at home, right? And to change a mind perception, to change a behavior, a pattern, it's hard, but it's much easier than change the self-identification with how I feel reality, right? And I am a healer for 12 years. I have been transforming myself since I started as a transformation agent. And today I was dealing again with a very old wound that is creating something in my life that is completely my self-creation, in a sense. And I am transposing those leftovers. Okay, so it's almost like I am creating a reality now because some aspects of my past self are operating inside a situation. And those same things I healed many years ago. And as I healed, less and less situations like this would arise, right? So when I changed myself, how my life happened to me started to change drastically. And how I felt about this life also changed a lot. So to pay in advance, it's not so much about making some kind of commitment or, you know, like I swear I make an oath or whatever, something like this. Is to change your quality. And I have a very good example that once I was inside a very critical situation. I was fighting with someone and the direction that everything was going is to huge collapse. But I saw that I was miserable inside. You know, that I was in a pitful state energetically. And I immediately noticed that I was creating that. I was creating that situation because I was inside that emotional state. And I already knew all of this, so I made this unbelievable effort to become something else as I was having that situation. And when I did this, a miracle happened. Everything changed. So, and this happened again and again in my life. The first time that happened was very difficult, and then it started to make it to become easier for me to transform myself inside situations. So what I'm trying to say is that to pay in advance is that in order for you to have something in your life, you have to be a match. Because that something is you coming to meet you, right? So you must become that.
Deep.
Okay, you have to become that in order for that to start to approach you in your life. Okay, and what I am manifesting right now is what I manifested in the past. So it's like ripples on space and time. When I take a rock and I throw in the water, right? There is waves, right? So next week I will feel the ripple of what I did last week. In the same day, in the same hour, I will feel something in my body. And that emotion will kind of come with thoughts, way of perceiving things. And it's very probable that I will create again, if I'm not very aware, a situation that looks the same. Make sense? Because I will react the same, I will look for the same kind of threat, right? So I create the same situation again. And then 1 month from now...
Everywhere you are.
Yes, exactly. So this, and there's a year from now, 7 years from now, so there's cycles of repetition, right? So if I am inside that situation and I'm not reactive to it, I observe, I see the emotions arising, I see the thoughts that come with it, and I just allow it to be. They will not create a new ripple, reinforce, like throwing a new rock. And if we throw rocks every week, imagine how many ripples we have to face. And that's how usually a person lives, right? So if I'm constantly feeling anxious and miserable, I'll have waves coming to meet me in the future again and again and again. But I don't want to make anybody that's listening to this feel afraid, right? Oh my God, no,
here come the ripples are coming.
Yeah.
Ah!
It's about consciousness and understand the law of causality, action and consequence, right? So we create our reality by the way we vibrate our frequency, right? And what we have to be aware is how we move those frequencies and those emotions, right? And be at peace, right? I have to be at peace with myself because I know that I vibrated some frequencies, right, in the last days. And although I was aware and I was moving them again and again to a positive state, I know that I rippled enough to know that I'll have a causality in the future that is about me facing myself again. And if I'm at peace with that, I am more propense to when it happens, will be very much aware. And then there is the second situation that is more about technology, right? There is techniques that we can cancel waves of creation, okay? And I will be I'll talk about physics quickly, okay? When we have a wave pattern, to cancel a wave, we have to create a new wave that comes in the same frequency, at the same match, and they cancel each other, but the opposites. And they cancel each other. So you nullify the wave, right? It's very easy when you have a instrument that shows the wave. Right? Okay, so I have to match exactly how the fuck I do, sorry for the wording, how the fuck I do this when it comes to my emotional creations. Well, I don't have a clear answer to that. I just understand conceptually, and I have channeled perceptions like this. But what I can say is that when I go to a very beautiful space of love, peace, of trust, usually I'm canceling states of anxiety, fear, and distrust, right? It's very obvious. So when I am inside a situation and I completely change what is happening, is because I was able to go to the other spectrum, right? So pay in advance for me is a very deep, profound thing, okay? But all starts with a very simple action. It's how I think, how I interpret reality. My thoughts, they are the key to all of this, right? Because even to cancel the patterns and frequencies of the past, something has to act, right? And I will say something that for you guys that know us, you already know this, especially you guys that lived with us, so many of you. But the feminine is the power. The feminine is the energy. The feminine is the material realm. But the feminine has no action. The feminine just holds the perceptions, what it came before, right? It has this memory of past creations, that it is systemic energy. Okay, the energy that is inside the system, and it's reproducing itself again and again. Those cycles are created by these ripples on the feminine, right? The feminine are registering the ripples, right? So someone threw a rock 2,000 years ago and the ripples are still in the system, right? Some of them are very positive, some are very negative. Caesar and Jesus, they were living very close to each other at the same time. One was a warrior that was conquering and destroying everything. The other was a man who were bringing a deep belief of love. Both of them are ripples that are still today very alive in our existence, right? The name of kings, czars, Caesars, all still here, even in our language. The ripples of those two guys are still very present, right? So this is how the things operate. The feminine just have this repercussion of the waves that came before. But those waves were created by something, right? Something put the creation in motion, right? And what put creation in motion was the masculine energy, right? The power of the verb, right? That's how religion tried to translate this, right? And not only religion, but also spirituality, right? Deep, profound belief systems like the Vedic and right, the shamanic path. So how we speak, right, create reality, okay? And then we bring form. So what I'm trying to say is that to pay in advance, the first thing we can do is change the way how we vocalize, how we translate reality. For you, Vinicius, how it is for you to listen to this? Is you already know this, how it reflects on you?
Yeah, I was thinking about like how I think. And listening to it, I was just like adding more and more objects and like characters in this story that I create to understand the knowledge that you are expressing, that you're passing on now. And I was just thinking like life is like you're a child in front of a lake, right? And you're the child, and you're looking at the lake, and then your parents, they come and they start throwing rocks that they carried with themselves, like, and they say like, so this is how you clean the house, this is how you should deal with money, and they throw a rock. And they create like very big waves that are very slow, so they stay in the lake for very long. Let's say if you don't do anything about them, they stay until the end of your life, those waves, right? And at some point your friends, they come, like, I don't know, your siblings, and then like they start throwing rocks too, and then you don't say anything because you're a child. You're just like, let's play together, right? Like, I know how to play, I want to play, until you're 7, until you're 10. And then you start seeing that, like, at some point, they're not there all the time anymore, but you're still throwing the rocks.
Yes.
The same rocks that they showed you how to do.
Yes.
How to throw. But then at some point, you're like, man, every time I throw this rock, there's this splash of water on my face and it hurts and I don't like it. And I didn't see that. Before I was laughing with my friend, but now my friend is not there anymore. So, like, why am I doing this? But you keep doing, and then you keep doing. And then you look at the lake and you think like, whoa, my life is a mess. And then there's all these waves and you don't know what's happening. And then at some point, you can understand that you are the one throwing the rocks, right? But if you look around the lake, you see that you allowed a lot of people to be throwing rocks on your lake, in your lake, and create these, how did you call it, the word? These ripples. Yeah, I didn't know, thank you. And that you can stop yourself of throwing rocks and just look at the lake. And you can stop the people of throwing rocks and look at the lake, but the lake will still have the ripples in there. And as soon as you grow, like in spirituality, or you're more mature, you can just sit there, breathe, and that will be meditation. And just look at that and see that you're not the fucking lake. Like you're not the lake. You're just not the lake, and that's just gonna be moving, and you see that you're like the energy of your parents, of your friends, of everybody is still in there. But you can see that it stops at some point. And that's, if you look back, maybe in your past, like you can see from like your, like the knowledge that you gathered during this life or other lives, if you believe in it, that there are other kinds of rocks that don't cause a splash. It just brings you something good.
Perfect.
Something that's actually can manifest itself by neutralizing the other waves, or bringing a new color, or bringing a new kind of vision or something. Like that's just the way that I was putting myself into that situation to understand it.
It's a very good visual reference, man.
Yeah.
And I would say that maybe you were inside a boat because you were going with the waves, especially when we are identified. Because that's when I think that conscious come into play. That when we learn to not be identified with our thoughts and our emotions, we go ashore. You can go out of the lake and observe the lake. The lake is there, you are connected to the lake, it's in front of you, but you're out of those roller coasters. You're just observing. Because when you're inside the boat, you're so messed up, even nauseated, throwing up all of those negativities all the time, that you cannot even think straight. You cannot even know where is where. And imagine when this water is shared, because it's not a lake, your lake, it's an ocean. Right?
Wow, yeah.
Yes, because all the waves of people around you, the city, the society, the neighbor that you're wall to wall in an apartment, You're sleeping head to head with someone else has a very different frequency than yours, right? So everything is sending energy to you, right? Inside of your aura, inside of your magnetic field. So it's a perfect example, very good. The ideas of people coming and throwing rocks, and you are kind of self-corrected when you say that you keep throwing the rocks, because the father and the mother, they throw the rocks. But every day they come and throw the rock again. They reinforce their belief system, what they are creating. Oh, money don't grow in trees. What you're doing? Money don't go in trees. Money don't go in trees. You have to have a diploma to be someone. You have to be a diploma. So they create these beliefs that blocks your creative pattern.
Exactly.
Here in Brazil, one of the most rich guys in Brazil, he never go to school. Silvio Santos is a huge billionaire, like huge amounts of money.
Very funny.
Yeah, very funny, but he created his richness not from this belief system. Of course, he's just one example, but it's not so serious, so absolute as the belief system tries to bring. Because a belief system is not something bad or good, right? A belief system, when it's grounded on truth, is just a description of reality. But a description of reality is not an absolute either. Because when we understand our ability to change reality itself and the fabric of time, we can even change the laws of nature, right? We can walk on water. The question is why? Why I would change the laws of nature? Why I'm violating the divine order? I can do it for good, I can do it for selfish reasons. Each one of them will create ripples of itself, right? So maybe it's not a very smart thing to change the ripples of space and time, but you can change how things operate on you, right? If someone comes and say to you, this is very bad for you, right? Like I usually speak about coffee, right? I create this warning for people that coffee is the vessel of slavery in our society because it forces our body to release energy. So the masculine, the idea that I have to do something today, is so more important that I will force my vessel, my feminine, to release energy by force and to move about in the world with a feminine that is in state of slavery. Okay? But although this is a very accurate description of reality, coffee itself is just a herb with very powerful properties. So if someone takes my sentences as face value, they will never drink coffee again. And that is a mistake. They just have to understand action and consequence. And know when coffee is really a blessing for myself and how I can override what is true about coffee. That will release energy in my system by force, by measure of leverage. I will put this leverage and I will force my system to move. If I have an inner conversation with my child, if I have an inner conversation with my body, and if I talk with it in advance and ask permission, if I include the feminine on the decision, the quality of how I am doing it changes everything. So what I'm trying to tell for you that is listening, so even a belief is not something positive or negative. It just can be a statement if it's based on truth. It can be something completely wake up, like crazy, if there is no grounding on reality. And there is so much confusion on people's mind because there is so many stuff that is not grounded on reality. Money don't grow on trees. Of course they don't grow on trees. Come on. But what is this parents trying to give to the child that is hard to come about money? And then they create this belief that is hard to come about money. And this is not true. For some people, money is something extremely easy to happen on their lives. For some people, it's very difficult. They have to force a lot of things inside their own reality. They have to fight against themselves.
And why so? Why?
Believe.
Because they believed that before.
The ripples, yes. So the ripples are there. And they are creating this confusion. And they are creating realities. And Papa, Mama gave that sentence. And they kept repeating. When they left, my mind kept repeating to me. Like you said. They are long gone, but they are still very much alive inside of me. How they believe?
Maybe even more.
Even more, yeah. Maybe they even stopped believing that shit. They said, "Oh, this is not how it works."
Man, you're still doing that. What?
Why
we stopped years ago.
It happens. I met very enlightened No, seniors, like people that are older, like they're hugely different from what they were. But their kids were not like raised up inside that new version, but the old one. And sometimes I see enlightened seniors having to live with their kids that are still attached to the belief systems that they outgrow.
And then we could talk about karma, but I don't think we should go that way. But
I understand what I mean.
Just mentioning it.
So to bring some sort of focus to this, it's a very good example that you gave about the water lake, and I want to talk about going to the shore.
The shore.
Yeah, because it's a symbolic representation of being aware. And being aware is that you are paying a lot of attention to what moves inside of you, right? And we talked about this in all our podcasts in Portuguese because it's a thematic that comes again and again, guys. And it's the base, it's the core of our practices here in the community is meditation, right? Because it gives the opportunity, if you do the meditation correctly, because this is important also, right? Because from the outside, it's just someone sitting. So what is happening inside makes a lot of difference, right? So if inside I am training this ability of remain in silence and profoundly connected to my body, despite of any thoughts that comes and try to push me into more thoughts, despite any sensations that comes, right? Pain, discomfort, I'm just stay connected and not reactive. Then we are preparing ourselves to be in that same state inside situations. That the waves are but I am still. Right? This is being in the shore.
Yeah, and
right?
Something that you said, you told me about that, and that made a lot of sense in my mind. It's just that if I grew up like in this ocean, this very chaotic ocean, I think that I create this idea of home, and home is there. So every time I'm in this chaotic place, I feel like home. So like that's like if I am in this loop of thoughts, oh my god, this feels like home. So I'm gonna create that again and again and again. And that's just something that when it hit me, I was like, man, I'm creating home everywhere. I want to have my mother, and she has her issues. I want to have my father around me. He has his issues. I want to have my sisters. I have 4, like, but my friends, and they have their issues. And I would always create over and over situations to feel like home, to have that same kind of thinking process that would say, this is home, Vinny. So I could feel safe.
Perfect.
And I could just overcome that, just sitting in meditation and telling myself, Vinny, you are safe. Let everybody around be who they are. Different than who you met before, who you saw before, who you love. And that just made sense, like, okay, that's why I should be in silence. Because if I'm always talking within me, I will never meet different people. I will always meet the characteristics and the people that I have met in like my first 10, 15 years of life, you know? That really helped me to understand this idea of being silence inside.
That's for me, I think, why law of attraction fails miserably. And also it's an amazing thing as a process of transformation. It fails miserably because people usually, when they focus on attraction, they focus on the superficial things, right? So they try and create, and even if they become very good at it, they learn how to attract, like we were talking about this Japanese guy, right? And how they discovered that all these millionaire guys were still feeling miserable inside, although they created and attracted wealth. So we can attract some situations in our life, but how life feels to us is very uncomfortable. And I experimented this in my life. I was very successful in many things that I did. And what I mean very successful, not like a millionaire, like a pop star or something like that. I was successful enough for their society perceptions, right? And to see that I was still feeling very miserable and unhappy, you know. Okay, but I should be happy. I'm having all of this, you know. I'm this respected person having this company, or I'm in this position in this corporation. I should be feeling happy, or I have this beautiful family, I have this beautiful wife, I have this beautiful things, and I feel like dying. That's how bad I was, right? So when I decided to quit everything, it was because I was already spiritual since I was a child, young child. All of you guys know this. I was channeling with 12, 11 years. I was already channeling. But when I decided to let go of everything, is because I understood that it was not working for me to try and do society's way. Right? That something was broken in me. I was always trying to change the surface, but never being able to truly change anything because I was not changing who I was.
Yeah, it's going deep and deeper, just in the surface, right?
Yes. It's like that very famous singer that I like to talk about her. I don't know why her name now escaped my mind.
Lady Gaga?
Lady Gaga, yes, thank you. Lady Gaga, that she had this huge crisis after 1 year of huge success.
Right? Her face.
She decided to change herself, right? Mm-hmm. She hated herself in her life, and she decided I will become this famous singer. And she did it, and she was successful in doing that, and she became very famous, right? And the point is, after 1 year, she felt still miserable. And she started to get in depression and use medications and stuff like this. And she had a lot of money. She tried to go society's way to fix things. And she was going deeper and deeper in a very bad situation. Like many famous people that I know, personally and not personally. Yeah. What happened? She decided that she had to stop everything and change her life. So she started to quit all the medications like I did also when I was in a situation. And she started going for meditation. And like yoga and stuff like this, right? And then when she started to really get back on track and to change inside. So what I'm trying to say is that law of attraction, it fails miserably to create what people are actually looking for. They're actually looking for an amazing life. And they have this illusion because of society that having stuff or being some form of character or persona on society will solve this.
And this is a fact, right?
Yeah, for them it's a fact, yes. Yeah. And when they achieve that level of success, that's when law of attraction is very successful. Because it tells them a very different thing. That although they achieved all of those things, life, it's not how they expect it to be. So something else has to be done.
Yeah.
Right? What do you think about this?
I think it's very deep because I've heard it before, right? Like I went to the Catholic Church for like 10 years. I was coordinator of like retreats and events and stuff. I was always there reading the Bible. I've like every day, like 1 hour a day, and then praying for one more, and then like kind of doing what we are doing here, but my intention was different. It was to solve something that using the wrong tools, you know. And I've heard it. I've heard that having things is not gonna fulfill you, you know, and like being the manager or the boss or the owner of a company is not gonna change how you feel. Having money or having a land or, you know, like all these things outside, they will never lead you to what you really want. That you really want is to love yourself and love everybody, you know, as Jesus said, like, let's put it like that. But even so, I was hearing that I wanted to know because I did it all, you know, like, and then I was like, no, I don't know if I trust you. Like, come on.
It's just a belief. It's not. It's
just a belief. Like I see the other people who are having it and they seem so happy. You know, they're always like laughing. They are always having these trips. But where was I seeing those people? I was seeing those people on social media.
Yeah, on the high.
Yeah, exactly. But then once I started like meeting people and like living with them, working with them, like having this connection with them, I saw that was not true, you know. So I just thought like, man, how much time did I spend trying to find something that I knew was not there, because I wanted to know by experience, you know. And when you were talking about your life experience and about what you left behind, you know, to change, I was just thinking like, I should listen more to people that have lived it, so I don't have to make the same mistakes or the same things and know by myself, because that hurts.
Yeah, it hurts a lot.
Yeah,
there's a lot of time that we dedicated to this kind of thing.
Exactly, and by hurting, like, you know, it's just pain, but you can cause a lot of suffering if you get attached to that, and then to leave it, to lose it, it can be very hard. So I was just thinking like, I'm very glad I'm here now. That I'm not out there trying to change.
To follow the illusion, right?
Yeah, to follow the illusion.
Now we have an amazing person here, Renata. She's kind of silent, you know, because English, she feels a little bit unsafe to say it, but she had an amazing experience of changing jobs a lot. And she was successful, have a good money, good career, right? But changing places, because from time to time, like, you could not stay anymore in one space, right?
Yes.
And in the end was always the same, yes?
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. So she kind of felt this experience herself too, right? Do you have anything to add that you feel safe to speak in English right now?
No.
I'm
just listening today. Yeah.
She has an amazing English,
but you can talk about me.
It's okay? Yeah.
Okay.
So she had this experience of also being an engineer. She followed this career out of the expectations of parents, right?
Yes.
And by doing so, she kind of fell out of track from her own inner connection, right? Following some other perceptions of society, family, what is success, what you should be happy doing it, not different from what I did, right? I wanted to go and do backpacking with 19 years old, and my family said, you were insane, you never do that, you know? And in the end I did 3 universities and did a lot of stuff, till when I was finally free, I go backpacking. And what was really changed my life, you know? So it's like this. Took me 10 years to do what I felt was the right thing to do. Right? So Renata kind of did the same, and she had the guts and the courage to do much earlier than I did. So let's celebrate Renata for her
Renata!
To come here, because she knew that kind of life was not working. Right? Is it correct?
Yes, it's exactly that.
So what I'm trying to bring out of this is with Vinny, is that a lot of life experiences, they can be good even if they are bad, just to teach us what doesn't work. What do you think, Yuri? Do you agree with that? Yes? No? Do you feel comfortable speaking in English?
Well, I agree.
So maybe to kind of wrap it up, right? We could speak hours about this subject, but
because that's what we do here.
Yes, yes, every day, all the time, facing reality and looking for the inner worlds of the universe, how it operates. But if you want to change your life, it's not about finding a place like Atma Aayur. Okay, if you come here tomorrow, come to live with us, as many of you already did, you already know that the answer is not here. The answer is in you. We can give you technology, we can give you insight, we can even give you a new frequency that will change how you feel about life. Time will pass different, like Vinicius told you. You feel much more easy to love yourself. So it gives you some easiness into the process of transformation. But nothing that we give will change you. Only you can give yourself this change by transforming, right? Paying in advance, doing the inner work, you know, and not doing just one day or 1 month. You have to keep doing it.
It's forever, guys.
It's forever. But it becomes easier. Life starts to become different, right? Yuri is here for 1 year, almost since our foundation. And he is a very young guy, an amazing person that I admire a lot. And he has gone through these cycles of being completely transformed, and then old wounds coming to the surface and having to deal with them and go back on track and go back on track. So this is true for you, Yuri? I hope. They cannot see your head shaking.
Yes, it's true.
It's true. Yes. So, in a sense, what I'm trying to say to you guys is that whatever you do, it will require this inner change, this inner movement. All right? Sadhguru has this very beautiful explanation about the tantric transformation, because it's kind of a magical thing, right? To have the technology to change you completely, doing some rituals, change your energy, but in the next day your life will fall apart. Everything that you have in your life will disappear from your hands. Relationships, marriage, everything will be destroyed. And you have to change anyway how you perceive reality. What I'm trying to say is, if someone goes and changes your frequency magically, everything else will fall out of alignment. Okay? Because that's the nature of things. Everything that we have in our life, it is there because it is a match to our frequency.
Yeah.
Right? So there is, you said about, becoming rich is not bring happiness, right?
Yeah.
It has the opposite thing too. You know, there's these people who think, no, if I go to a poor country, you know, and everybody has less, then I will be happy. I saw the rich people from Europe and America, very wealthy families, has the opposite belief system. I met a girl that she was with 30 years and she was living for 5 years. She was German, from very, very rich family, living in the slums in São Paulo. Okay? And this idea that happiness is found outside, it's an illusion. And I'm not saying that traveling and going to live in the slums will change everything for her. She was very brave, very courageous, and it was maybe the best decision that she did in her life. But it's not that living in the slums that is the thing that changes her. It's how that experiences make her grow and more connected to her own self, and less in illusion that something outside will transform. So it's not about wealth, it's not about the mansion, it's not about the beautiful person by my side. It's how is my relationship with me. That's the final thing that I want to wrap it up. This conversation is how you relate to yourself. That is the main thing. Your relationship with your emotions, your relationship with your thoughts, your relationship, what happens in your life. That's what will bring you the answer that you are looking for. So, in order to first believe, to see, this belief is inside. Believe is a quality in you. What will you do? And how you will perceive reality changes everything. If you're gonna become a millionaire that is miserable all the time, like you felt when you were a child, or you'll be extremely, extremely happy. Doesn't matter if the money is there or not, but because it is there, things are even more interesting. Because there's nothing wrong about having. There's nothing wrong about becoming someone in society. But if you're looking yourself on those things, you'll find just a reflection of what you already is. But if you change first, if you pay the price first, then the reflection will reflect that. That's the thing. What do you think, Ben?
Well, to wrap it up too, after this amazing knowledge that Sananda brought to us.
Thank you, brother.
The guides were just like crazy around here. I feel like listen to it. I was remembering one of like my ex-partner in one of the talks that we had. She talked about her sister who wanted to be like a life coaching, and that in order to become that, she had to do all the exercises, all of them, every week. And one of them that she told me that was helping her a lot, and like to help me too, she was telling me, it was to go in front of the mirror and tell myself things that I wanted to live or that I wanted to be.
Okay.
Like just to tell me, like that's here we would call it like changing your inner narrative, right?
Okay.
But in that moment, I was just thinking like, telling beautiful things to myself. And I thought like, oh, that's crazy. Like that's not gonna change. But then like 1 week after that, I went there in front of the mirror and I tried to tell myself that I loved myself and I couldn't.
Wow.
And I couldn't. And I was like, okay, so something is wrong. And that's not so crazy, you know. And then I tried to tell myself that I was like a beautiful person and that I would have everything that I wanted, and I couldn't do that. And that was the last month that I was like in this trip, 1.5 years trip, and then I chose to do something about it, and then I chose to come here to this community. Yeah. And then I went there. I went to work away, and I was like, okay, let me find one. Then when I read the description, I was like, okay, this is the place that I can change that. That was like, for me back then, it was going in front of the mirror and telling good things to myself. Now it's having a good inner narrative with like different tools that I don't need a mirror to do in order to do that. So it's choosing before how your experience is gonna be, and then you're gonna believe before seeing. So choose now, like how your next day is gonna be, regardless of what's gonna happen. And even if it sounds crazy, like being alive is crazy, so you know, like you're listening to a podcast wherever you are. Like 50 years ago, people would say like, that's crazy, man, that's never gonna happen. You're doing it right now, and you can do this like over and over again because you can just press play, and this just sounds normal because you're used to it now, you know. So craziness is just about what you didn't see happening yet, but if you saw it, you would believe. But in order to have it now, you should believe before. So that would be what I would say to you. Even if it sounds crazy, if it looks crazy, it feels crazy, try it out. You know, life is about trying it out. You know, so choose it before.
Amazing, man. Very good. Beautiful description.
Thank you.
So, our beloved friends from far and abroad, we love you guys. Thank you for being here. This is the first episode from Soul Connection, from Atma Aayur, from Brazil. And we hope that all of you guys had a good moment with us, and that your experience in this life be full of consciousness, self-love and self-responsibility, and we can co-create a new earth by our actions inside and outside. Okay, we love you, and thank you for being here. Next week we see each other again. Woo!
And maybe one day come here, please. Send us a message. Yeah.